Hey, look which one I got. Look what I got.
Here, Elizabeth, go choose a pretty color that you like.
Welcome to Watch Like a Kid,
a podcast where we watch your kid shows so you don't have to.
We are your hosts, Diane and Gabriele.
So come, be a kid with us.
Diane, I am so late. I thought this movie started at 1:30. It starts at 1:20, so I'm already 10 minutes late. And the fuel light came on while I was driving, and I was like, oh, I don't have time. But it's okay, because there's 15 minutes of previews. I might miss the Nicole Kidman section, but like, it's fine, because it's not as good anymore anyway. We already know. Speaking of Nicole Kidman, how cute is this friendship bracelet my friend made me? Heartbreak feels good in a place like this. We are gonna see If today. In the last video, you told me about Dead Boy Detectives, and you told me I would never watch that, and I definitely agree. I would never watch that show. Way too Pentecostal, so thanks for looking out. But I'm glad you liked it. It seems like it's a good time of a show, and you asked me at the end of that video,
Got any good movie recommendations for us?
and I really didn't. So I thought, let's go to the movies and see what If is about, see if I recommend it. We're still getting an icy. Like, I know we're running late, but we're still getting an icy. Get you something to cheers with, girl, because... Cheers! Alright, so I got gas, I made it home, I thought about the movie, let's talk about it. So it follows a 12-year-old girl who, she is not a kid. Okay, I need you to know that right now. This girl is not a kid. Okay, she's grown. She's so grown, in fact, that she is allowed to go prance around New York City by herself at night, okay, saying she hanging out with friends. All right, she a grown girl. She a grown girl. She ain't no kid. And the reason why she's not a kid is because her mom died, and now her dad has like this heart issue and is in the hospital, and she's just been through too much. She's been through too much, and she's like, what's the point of happiness? What is the point of playfulness? What is the point of childhood? All right, let's wrap it up. So she has to stay with her grandma. In her grandma's apartment complex, she like finds this horrible, it's not horrible, it's fine. I don't like fluffy things. She finds this like big purple monster. Like if you think of like Sully, but like not. His name is Blue even though he's purple. And she's like, no, childhood is over. What is this? Ryan Reynolds' character comes out, and another, like, I think she's creepy. Hi. Imaginary friend comes out, and our main character, homegirl, finds out about these imaginary friends and these things that they're called ifs, which Diane, you and I actually had a go around about that. We're like, is this movie called If? Is it called IF? Is it called Imaginary Friend? What is this movie called? It's If. They call themselves ifs.
What are you?
An if.
Basically, it's kind of like a bing bong situation if you remember from Inside Out. Whenever Riley stops remembering him, he like disappears. So he's trying to stay in Riley's memory, but Riley is grown. She a grown girl. These are grown girls. Okay, these ifs don't want to retire. They don't want to die. They don't want to disappear. And so they hope that this girl can help them find a kid, have their life again. But that doesn't work. And so they have to try now to find their original people who are now adults, not just grown kids. Like these are real adults, and try to get them to remember their imaginary friend and tap back into their childhood.
How'd it go? Oh my God.
Which of course helps our main character tap into her childhood. And there was a part in the movie where she says, I'm just a kid. And I'm like, yes, you are, girl. Thank you for finally admitting that, because I was concerned for you walking around Coney Island by yourself. So really, it's a story about, losing your childhood. It's a story about tapping into your playfulness, your imagination. It's a story about memory. It's a story about stories. There's a possibility that you will love it or you don't like it. Because if we go based on my theater, no. But if we go based on other people's theaters, sure. So my theater was filled with children, and I think they were all just kind of confused with what was going on, to be honest. They were kind of antsy. One kid kept walking around, and he had a blanket with him, which I thought was pretty dope. I didn't really hear a lot of laughter when the jokes were told, to be fair. Some of the jokes were really niche. They had a viola joke. I'm a viola player, and that joke was funny. Hurtful, but funny. There were scenes where they were like tapped in. There's this really cool scene. All the ifs are like doing this big dance number, and you just see them all for the first time, and it's really imaginative. The animation is really, really good. So you're just really there. And if your kid is one of those kids that just likes to look at cool things. Like if your kid is like a vibe kid, like I'm just here for the vibes, just for the aesthetics, they will love it. They will love it. If your kid is a story kid and wants to actually like get into the story, there may be some pacing issues that keep the kids kind of not all the way there. And I think these pacing issues have to do with the fact that a lot of the movie is really deep, kind of like for adults, not in like an inappropriate way, but definitely in a, you know, we know how it is to be jaded and to feel like our childhood has been lost. And unless you're like homegirl who's had all this trauma prematurely, you may not understand where she's coming from as a kid. You may not really understand what the adults are dealing with. And so it may not be relatable to them yet. So I think some kids might see this movie as boring. And I say that with sadness because I do think it's a good movie. And I think that for the right people, they will really enjoy this. And it's a family movie, which we don't get those a lot. So you could take your whole family to it and the adults are going to get something out of it and the kids are going to get something out of it. But I do think depending on your kid, if your kid is like one of those, I cannot sit still for 2 hours, baby, don't bring them into this one. I wouldn't bring them into this one. But that's not to say your kid won't like it. Again, I think I actually would have loved this movie when I was a kid because I loved slower paced movies. I was, you know, I got really easily stressed out and I was not about the fast paced films. So I think I would have thought this movie was really charming and really cool. It is sad in parts. So if your kid is sensitive to sadness, it might be a lot because there's, you know, the mom dies in this movie and now the dad is in the hospital. You know, the girl is just like dead inside, you know, and it can be really sad. So if your kid is sensitive to that, that might be a thing. I don't really think there's any other reason why your kid, like appropriate wise, wouldn't be able to see this movie. Some of the ifs could be creepy for really, really sensitive kids. I was one of them. But for the most part, they're all really playful and really well done. My favorite if was there's this little water with an ice cube in it. Really cute. I loved him. So my personal opinion would be if you're like, should I pay? I mean, movie ticket prices are a beast right now. I would say you can take them if you got the money to spare. But if not, wait for a rental. Wait for a rental. You know, I mean, again, if you have kids who are like, I love watching pretty things on the TV, they'll have a great time. And if you have kids who are like restless, baby, don't take them to this movie. I would not take them to this one. It's really heartwarming and cute. It's just, you know, it's just the pacing. I'm just trying to be realistic, parents. I'm just trying to be realistic. I really like the movie, but I just don't know if it's going to keep their attention. Again, know your kid, right? What do we say on Watch Like a Kid? Know your kid. You got a jaded kid, you got a grown 12-year-old kid, you got a grown 6-year-old, you got a kid walking around the streets of New York by themselves at night. You got a tough one. You got a kid who's seen some stuff. You got a kid who's like, listen, childhood, miss. You got one of them? Movie might hit for them. Movie might hit. Maybe have them watch Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends and see how they do. And if they're really into it, you can be like, hey, like, cute little spin-off moment. Let's go watch this movie, you know? You know, Foster's might be a little better. It's okay. It's okay. All right, so since maybe not all of the kids are going to go see If, then Diane, you got to give them something else. You got to give them another option. So pinging it back to you, what is a movie that you think maybe has faster pacing for the kids, or maybe if they liked If, they would like this, or if they didn't like If, they would like this? I don't know. Give me another movie.
Still raining in Ohio.
That's not a unicorn. That's just a pony with pink hair.